Hey, good morning. It is the Jeff and Bill Show. Sans Jeff. Yes, Jeff Hunt is running around with little huntlings today and Mrs. Jeff, and they got something to do. So, because of that, you've got me solo, but do not despair. I'm going to be chatting with Devin Patrick Hughes from Symphony of the Rockies here in just a minute. Talk about something special going on and get back to the discussion. Blake Olson's going to join us with news and comment in a sec. But before that, I want to talk right now to Pete in Monument. He wants to talk to us about the socialism, Mamdani, why he may be seeing traction. So, Pete, do you think Mamdani, is he convincing New York to really go Democrat socialist, or is he just stealing a playbook page out of Donald Trump in the last election and going populist? What do you think?
I think it's a little bit of both. But what I think is becoming of New York is it's becoming a destination or a place for the ultra wealthy and the ultra poor. I think there's no middle class, and that's why he's got a lot of appeal towards, let's say, the poorer side. What I think, though, is as a true capitalist and conservative, I think sometimes you got to give people what they want so they can see how bad it truly is. I think if Mamdani gets in there and gets elected, which I totally think is going to happen, give it 4 years and it'll be a lot like the Biden administration, where people see what an utter failure his policies are, and what he does to the city. And I also believe that you're going to have a lot of industry, a lot of businesses, and a lot of wealthy people move. I think what you're seeing is going to be a microcosm of what you've seen throughout the country over the last 8-9 years, where people are taking their money out of places like New York. They're going down to Florida. They're going to Tennessee. They're going to places where they have a little bit more economic freedom. They have economic mobility. Their dollar goes farther, and I think that's what's going to happen in New York, and it's going to slap the people of New York in the face really quick.
Now, Pete, I think you got some points there, and I do appreciate the idea of, hey, giving the voters what they asked for. In fact, I don't think we have to go as far as the Biden administration. I think we can go to Mayor Mike Johnston here in Denver, Colorado. I think that is a good example of a program and a mayor that came out with some large ticket profligate spending items that, when implemented, didn't fulfill the promise and became more expensive. I think that Mayor Johnston would be viewed much differently if his programs to solve homelessness and illegal immigration would have accomplished their goals. If we would have more people in permanent housing and working and off the streets, and we would have those immigrants that came to the street, came into Colorado, legal or otherwise, go through the system and get jobs. But he had a miserable failure as far as percentages for both. And so I think that's kind of a problem. However, I'm worried. I'm not so certain, the rich people, when they move, there seems to be some of it a cap, because there is an economic level that moves to somewhere like a Texas, a Florida, a Tennessee. But when you get to those ultra wealthy, I see them more times than not moving to places like California and other places in which they have high taxes. They're not necessarily escaping some of it, in part because, the ultra wealthy, if you would live that ultra wealthy lifestyle in New York, going to Nashville, it ain't going to fill it. It's not going to offer you the same stuff. And so I see them migrating to those larger urban centers. But again, it does take the tax base outside of New York City. Your thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, and I hate to admit this, I agree with you, especially on the Mike Johnson thing. I think you're spot on like that.
I have my moments, but that was the only one I'm allowed today, so it's okay.
No, I think you're spot on. I grew up on the west side of Denver in the suburbs out there, and I don't even recognize it anymore. I don't want to go there. I don't want to spend my money there. It's not even a location, and that pains me to say that. It's not a location I want to bring my family to. It's a total different world than it was in the 80s and 90s from when I spent time there.
That is hard.
Here's what I will say is,
please.
I think you got a point with the ultra rich. But tell me what happens when you don't feel safe walking down the street to go get a cannoli in New York City anymore if you're the ultra rich.
Yeah.
Tell me what happens when you start getting hit at a tax rate that, regardless of how rich you are, you still feel fundamentally like you're being punished for your wealth. And I think that's a question that is starting to rear its ugly head in places like California. You've had a lot of high tech and industry move out of California, even though they may not admit it. They're moving elsewhere. Look at what Elon Musk did. He moved his entire operation down to Texas and things like that because he felt like he was being punished for being successful. That may happen in New York. And the problem is when the bottom falls out, there's no tax base to pick up the bills for what people like Mondomny and some of these other ultra-left politicians, such as the guy in Denver, Mr. Johnson, they're going to force the tax base, which at that point can't afford it anymore, to pick up the bill because people don't want to pay way more than what they believe is a fair tax base.
Hey, Pete, I think you hit something here. Yeah, I think, just sorry to interrupt there. I think,
especially fundamentally, I think, especially for causes and programs that they see as failures over and over again, and this is what the left does. They don't adjust. They fail to look and go, well, we've been dealing with the homeless for 5 years, and we keep throwing billions of dollars at it, and are we better off? No, we're not. So let's adjust. And the left doesn't have that ability to do so.
Oh, Pete, I think you're 100% right. They are so assured of them being righteous that having self-reflection shouldn't matter, because as long as you are assured and self-assured of you being on the right side of history and making the right choices for the right people, whether or not your program works doesn't matter because you're righteous. And I think you've hit on something.
Well, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Bill, I think that's what the left does. They make emotional decisions rather than realistic decisions.
Yeah. And I also think I think you make a really good point about the idea of the crime. Jeff talks about this as well, as far as downtown Denver, until you feel safe, that you're not going to go down there. And I think that you've hit on something with both the crime and, ideas of homelessness with tax burden. And I would submit that the very ultra wealthy inside of a New York or California would stick around longer with the higher tax rate if you didn't have crime problems, homelessness problems, things like that, because I think that the ultra wealthy would be able to say, okay, I've got access to all these wonderful things that I can do around these major metropolitan areas, and I know that I'm getting soaked on my taxes, but at least I can walk down the street safely. At least the homelessness isn't a problem. Yeah, I feel like I'm paying a lot in taxes, but at least some of these problems are being taken care of. When you're getting soaked on the taxes and you still have the crime and you still have the homelessness and you still have the drug addiction, then what in the hell are you paying your taxes for? You want out. I can see that.
When push comes to shove, it's about quality of life, right?
Yeah, it is.
You sit back and say, hey, what do I enjoy doing, and can I do it safely, and can I do it reasonably? And unfortunately, this guy's going to win, and I think he's going to win going away. But you know what? The Republicans or the conservatives in places should use what he does as a model to make sure it doesn't happen elsewhere. That's maybe the bright side of this.
Hey, the bright side of this, I've enjoyed this conversation, Pete. Thank you. I hope you have a great day. And call us again. You can always give us a call, 303-696-1971. I'm going to talk to Blake Olson here in a second. And then we're getting fancy. We are going to culture y'all. Yeah. We're going to bring the level of this show up at least 3 or 4 notches because, I'm operating down on the bottom here. So we are going to get very cultured and talk Symphony. Devin Patrick Harris with Symphony of the Rockies is going to join us in a moment, but right now it is time for news and commentary with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hope you're having a great morning. 68 and sunny, expecting a high of 87 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, a new round of tariffs is set to take effect tomorrow after 47 refused to extend the August 1st deadline for countries to sign trade deals. NBC's Peter Alexander reports the U.S. has already reached agreements with a number of countries.
The president announced a new agreement with South Korea, slapping a 15% import tax on South Korean goods. It's lower than the 25% he had initially threatened, but significantly higher than any time in nearly 15 years when a free trade agreement was in effect.
Deals have also been struck with the UK, the European Union, and Japan, among others. Scott Jennings remembers in April when all the lefties on CNN said the world was going to come to an end when DJT implemented the tariffs.
Well, I would just like to go, but I'd like to build a DeLorean and go back to April when everybody here was predicting likely to cause a recession. Investment stops and a recession happens. They're not talking about a U.S. recession. They're talking about a global recession. Lead to recession. Eventually, there being a reception.
If he's chosen to,
I just want to point out, just a second. You called the recession.
Yes, they did. Oh, it's lovely bringing it all back. Former Colorado dentist James Craig is going to prison for life without parole for poisoning his wife and killing her. Justice served in one of the most horrific crimes in Colorado history. On Wednesday, Dr. Peter McCullough, MD, he posted that Coach Deion Sanders' doctors need to send his cancerous bladder tissue for assessment for vaccine mRNA, SV40, and spike protein staining. He says failure to do so will hurt Sanders, the cancer community, and the public at large. He was on Just the News.
It's essentially unheard of. I've never seen that in my clinical practice, and a man in his 50s. This is a very, very serious surgery. You have to take part of the colon, refashion the bladder, connect the ureters, the urethra. This is a big deal. It's actually a modern surgical miracle that he's had complete extirpation of the bladder. But we have to ask the question, why? And until oncologists and surgeons and the victims themselves, until they ask the question, could the COVID-19 vaccine be related to what we call a turbo cancer? That is a very aggressive cancer. We're not going to get a level set on reality. There are now thousands of papers pointing to the fact that the new genetic messenger RNA vaccines could promote cancer.
Fascinating. Kamala Khan won't be driving California further into the ground. She says she won't be running for governor of the Golden State.
Just over a year ago, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. 107 days, traveling the country, fighting for our future. The shortest presidential campaign in modern history.
But she's written a book. A memoir.
It was intense, high stakes, and deeply personal for me and for so many of you.
It was personal for us, believe me.
Since leaving office, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, talking with my team, my family, my friends, and pulling my thoughts together.
Here it comes.
In essence, writing a journal that is this book, 107 days. With candor and reflection, I've written a behind-the-scenes account of that journey.
Oh, my goodness, 107 days, and I think like 30 of them, they were hiding her in a closet or a room somewhere. Wow.
I believe there's value in sharing what I saw, what I learned, and what I know it will take to move forward.
Wow, thank you, God. Thank you, Lord. We were so close to that. Unbelievable. Thank you.
In writing this book, one truth kept coming back to me. Sometimes the fight takes a while, but I remain full of hope, and I remain clear-eyed. I will never stop fighting to make our country reflect the very best of its ideals.
please go write another book. Please don't come back. Rockies shut out by Cleveland. Pittsburgh in town tomorrow. 67 in Aurora, 65 in Golden, 68 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Billy's flying solo right now. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Deep monsoonal moisture will continue to flow into Colorado, especially over the next 3 days. Chances for thunderstorms will be high, and some will produce heavy rain. Highs upper 70s and low 80s today, low to mid 80s Thursday and Friday, with nighttime temperatures in the upper 50s with a daily occurrence of showers and thunderstorms, some producing heavy rain. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Yeah, Bill is flying solo. I know what the hell happened. Jeff is running around with the little huntlings and Mrs. Jeff. He's got some stuff to do this morning, so I am flying solo this hour. In just a sec, hey, we're getting fancy. Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor, Symphony of the Rockies, is going to class up this joint. It's about damn time. Lord knows I've brought the level of the show down for months now. So, yeah, he's going to talk to us about this amazing season coming up, Symphony of the Rockies. Classical music is near and dear to my heart. But first, we got to talk to Rory O'Neill, NBC News national correspondent. Rory, interest rates holding steady? What happened at the Fed?
President Trump has been urging the Fed to cut rates, but Chairman Powell and most of the rest of the governing board there are not ready just yet. Now, there were two dissenters, which we haven't seen that in like 30 years, but for the most part, the rates will stay the same now, but we got suggestions from Chairman Powell that he's open to rate cuts later this year. There will be 3 more Fed meetings before the year is done. He really wants to see the impact of some of these tariffs that will start tomorrow. So I think that's why he's been a little bit reluctant to lower the rates. There's still some questions about exactly what the impact of these tariffs will be.
Now, I like the fact that you pointed out that there are two dissenters. Many times we're talking about, Jerome Powell lowering rates. He's not the king of the Fed. He has to work with the board. Talk to us about that, about the fact that they just had two dissenters on this one.
Yeah, there are 12 governors. Chairman Powell, surprise, he's the chairman of the board, so he gets most of the heat from President Trump, who has called him too late Powell, meaning that it's a criticism, saying you were too late to raise interest rates when that inflation spike started under President Biden, and now you're too late to lower rates now that inflation has cooled under President Trump. Now, Powell will tell you, we're not there yet on inflation. It's in the right direction. But the concern is once you start to lower rates in this kind of a cycle, if inflation were to spike, it's tough to raise them again just a little and have the same kind of impact. So it's a sense of, it's effective the first time you swing the axe, not the second time. And that's why he's trying to wait and see a bit. And look, grand scheme of things, we're talking maybe 6 weeks as the difference. So it's not a huge change if they decide to wait. And again, there's still some talk that we could see 2 rate cuts if things continue to go well.
Now, I know Rory O'Neill, with the big budget that the NBC national news correspondent does get in radio, you obviously have your NBC News crystal ball at the ready.
Sure.
Yes. Donald Trump has said we need 3 percentage point cuts. I can't for the life of me think that Powell would ever agree to anything more than half a rate point at most. Is 3% way too much? Is he expecting too much and we're still going to fight even if we get a rate cut?
Yeah, that's just typically part of what we call President Trump's weave. When he has those conversations and he sort of weaves back and forth on things. When he says we could have 1%, should be down to 0.5%. I should say 0. You're like, wait, whoa. So the Fed chair has been pretty slow to act in this case, but again, I think there's a real reluctance to respond too soon, because the concern is this could, if inflation does spike again, it's tough to get that beast under control a second time around.
Oh, we appreciate you. That's Rory O'Neill, NBC News national correspondent. Have a great day, sir. Thanks for checking in with us.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
All right. Yeah, so we didn't get the rate cut, but we are going to class up the joint just a little bit here on the Jeff and Bill Show. I have got Devin Patrick Hughes in the studio. He's the conductor for Symphony of the Rockies. Good morning, Devin. Hope I can call you Devin rather than Mr. Hughes. How you doing today? Thanks for coming in. Oh, and I'm not hearing him. Why am I not hearing? Oh, wait, hang on a sec. I know what I have to do here. Hang on, Devin. We're going to push the buttons here. And because, again, when we're flying solo, it's like the idea of the pilot having to run the whole thing. Hang on here. No, I don't want that. There we go. Hang on. One more thing I got to do here. And let's go. Oh, come on. Where is that? Oh, this is silly. Let's try that one. Hang on a sec here. Alrighty, Mr. Hughes, can we hear you now? Oh, wait. Now try it. Oh, you know what? No, it doesn't like that. Hang on a sec here. Tell you what, I am going to have a step aside. I'm going to figure out why the board doesn't want me to do what I need to right now and maybe knock over some lights in the meantime. But this is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. and Bill Show. Yeah, it's Bill Thorpe flying solo. And what the hell happened? Yeah. Jeff is running around with the Hunt clan, has some stuff to take care of today. And as we always say on the Jeff and Bill Show, family comes first. So when you have family commitments, he and I help each other out. That's how it should work on this kind of a show, and that's how it works in life. Yeah, all of you that have spouses and family and stuff, you do the things because they're your family. Sometimes you regret it afterwards because scars and other things happen, but that's okay. I have got a real treat for us today. Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor for Symphony of the Rockies, is live in studio with me. Good morning, Mr. Hughes. Let's see if the microphone works this time.
Hello, Bill. It's great to be here.
Yay! And the crowd goes wild. We figured out the technical issue. That's fantastic. I pushed the right button. Oh, it's all on me. Thank you for joining me this morning. Yes. Oh, I like how you go symphony on us. Now, you're really classing up the joint today. Here, the question I've got for you is this, okay? Devin Patrick Hughes is the conductor of the Symphony of the Rockies. What I want to start out with is talk to me about your journey. How in the world did you become the symphony conductor for the Symphony of the Rockies? Because very, very, very few children in the history of the world have shown up to their parents and said, I want to stand in front of a bunch of people with instruments and wave this stick. How did it happen?
Well, I grew up in Springfield, Illinois, down the street from the Lincoln home. My dad was a lawyer, my mom was a nurse, and she played a little guitar and sang, and my dad was on the symphony board. So they would take me to orchestra concerts as a kid. I had a fascination. I remember being 3 and just thinking about how in the world does one person keep 80 people together. So it started at a really young age, and they would bring great musicals coming through Springfield, Illinois. I would see those. I would come home and sing those. I ended up playing the trombone, later some piano, violin, a little bit of percussion, and just kind of fell in love with everything music. I went to college as a pre-med major, so I ended up being music, and I started out being also a bio major. I also was a very serious Division III baseball player, at least for the first 2 years in college. I kind of peaked my senior year in high school. And so, music and the orchestra just kind of took over my life, probably my late teens. I fell in love with the music of Beethoven, Rachmaninoff, Brahms, but also just remember playing, Name That Tune on the radios shows in the 90s and really just knowing all the pop music, by memory.
Oh, Devin, you're talking my language there, going back and talking about all the music and the things on the air. So this is what I want the audience of Jeff and Bill Show to understand, that, we've all had those moments in our life where we felt like we have disappointed our parents. But remember this, that Devin Patrick Hughes, who is the conductor for Symphony of the Rockies, at one point in his life, as a pre-med student, had to tell his parents he wanted to stand in front of a symphony. They were like, we failed. We have failed. But no, they did take you to the concerts and everything. Okay, first thing I've got to ask you, you talked about how you picked up the trombone, okay? Now, I like this because I'm a brass man as well. Oh. I played the trumpet for years.
Oh, perfect.
I was in the Denver All-City Jazz Band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not first chair. Not second chair, not third chair. But I was
okay.
I was there.
That's all that matters. You're there.
I was there. Yeah. So I was there, and I did the work, and so I appreciate it. So tell me why you chose the trombone rather than picking up, a superior instrument like the trumpet. I am teasing, but why?
I must have been 8 or 9 years old, and I remember being in the music store and trying a lot of the instruments. I don't think there were string instruments in that store. I didn't try any of those at the time. And it was just, I loved the slide. I loved the fact that you could make any note you wanted, as opposed to like a key or a piano where, like we're like a violin. Like we can do glisses, you can do the airplane, you can do the jazz thing. And then, I was out on the corner with a friend of mine who played French horn and a friend of mine who played oboe. We were making, nickels and dimes and quarters as, 11-year-old kids. I'm sure we didn't, that we didn't sound as good as we did maybe 10 years later. But I think every instrument to me it can kind of create that spark. And an instrument is kind of like, for a kid to choose that between the age of 5 and 10, it kind of like gives you an identity. It gives you a purpose. And for us, it's like, it's hard, playing any instrument. So like sometimes people ask me, what is the most difficult instrument? And every instrument is almost impossible. Like if you have a kid playing, any parent knows a 6-year-old playing a violin, it's hard to listen to that for a few years,
I know that from personal experience. Yes. I have 2 violin players in my house. Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. But it gives them, this idea that it's not going to come easy. You're going to have days when you don't want to play. And then you get put in the context of the symphony orchestra or an ensemble, or if you're a singer, a chorus, and you harmonize with people. You naturally harmonize. It's like this conversation where nobody's right, and at the same time, everybody's bringing, their top-notch skill that they've been practicing for however many months or years, and making something beautiful for the community.
Now it's Devin Patrick Hughes. He is the conductor for Symphony of the Rockies. The reason you chose the trombone is exactly the reason that I didn't. It was, when I was little, the lack of precision.
Yeah.
It was hard. Now, I can see why, as an older player, that ability to kind of slide between notes would be great. But as a kid, the lack of precision scared me.
Yeah.
That, and it was an enormous case. It's a much smaller case to carry to and from.
You're right.
To and from
there
school.
is the convenience factor.
Yeah, much more convenient. Okay, how did you find a path that eventually landed you in Colorado from Springfield?
Well, I ended up studying in various places in Ithaca, New York, all the way to Vienna in Austria, all the way to Ball State in Indiana, and I did my undergrad in Grinnell College in the middle of Iowa. Wow. And I came here actually to the Lamont School of Music, the University of Denver. It's got a phenomenal music program. I was an artist diploma student, and then I ended up working for an orchestra at the time, that is still the Denver Philharmonic. And then I started with another orchestra called the Niwot Timberline Symphony that would later become the Boulder Symphony. And then in 2013, I took the job with the Symphony of the Rockies, formerly Arapahoe Philharmonic, an orchestra that's been around since 1953. So we're 70 years plus. And as the Symphony of the Rockies, we are really interested in being, this orchestra for everybody in the Mountain States. We're featuring not just classical, but pop music, movie music. For example, August 23rd at Centennial Amphitheater, we really focus on family concerts. So we've got this movie concerts. It's for families. It's a free concert on the Green. We're playing music all the way from Jurassic Park to Star Wars to Indiana Jones to Apollo 13. And so our concerts are really designed to put the music into the hands where it can be most easily received, which is in the context of the family, our family concerts, our discovery concerts. Because we know that, when young people come together and experience this with their parents, it's kind of like a multi-generational thing. Like people my age, we remember E.T. and that beautiful music, or Star Wars, or Superman, which is huge now. Superman is one of my favorite music. And to share that, with, I have a 3-year-old now, and she's just I'm just showing her the flight scenes of from Christopher Reeve to Henry Cavill to all the different, and she just loves it. She even loves the monsters when Superman's fighting the monsters. And so for example, one of our concerts November 8th at Lone Tree Arts Center is going to be called 80s Mixtape.
Oh, I've got that circled on my calendar.
And so this is music could be like from Michael Jackson's Thriller. Of course, it could include some great John Williams classics, but all the way to Madonna, Like a Prayer. And it's my experience and strong belief that any piece, when it's played with orchestra, it raises the level of that piece, no matter the genre. So we love to kind of make arrangements and premiere new works that people would not expect for a classical symphony orchestra to be playing.
Hey, you are correct. That's Devin Patrick Hughes, Symphony of the Rockies conductor. He's right. Symphony Orchestra elevates any level of music. Ask Metallica. They've done it themselves.
We do Enter Sandman too, by the way. That is fantastic for orchestra.
You know that originally started out as a lullaby.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a child's lullaby that James Hetfield wrote, and when they were recording it, the producer at the time comes and goes, nobody's going to play this on the radio. It's way too dark. We got to change it. And Hetfield's like, and they're like, listen, do you want us to release this as a single, or does this have to be a deep track in the album? He goes, yeah, it's a single. So he went back and he reworked the lyrics with the exception of the chorus. That's why the chorus still talks about the Sandman coming.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Again, I can't do long division, but I know stupid stuff like that.
No, that's cool, and I love the idea of the lullaby in music because another concert that we have October 11th at Pace Center features Mahler's Second Symphony, which is the Resurrection Symphony. But Mahler was a very interesting composer. He was like me, a conductor by day. But at night and over the summer, he would write these massive symphonies that was his real passion.
Wow.
that he never thought anybody would play. And by the time he died in 1911, people weren't, he was just conducting and thinking his music would be kind of left to obscurity. But in the slow movement of his first symphony, the Titan Symphony, he takes a very famous lullaby. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John? Brother John. Yeah. And he turns it into the minor mode.
Oh.
Da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. And not only that, he gives it to a solo contrabass, a big bass, one bass instrument. It's an 80-piece orchestra.
Oh my God!
The first time this has ever happened in the history of symphonic music, and it's just this cryptic like obviously the symphony triumphs at the end.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's cool how all the way from Mahler to Metallica, you have people even in Mozart, any M you want to call, Mozart taking folk music, taking lullabies, taking children's songs, and that's really their raw materials.
Oh, that's amazing. So, okay, Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor, Symphony of the Rockies. We're going to talk about their calendar in just a second. They've been around for more than 70 years. Here's the cool thing. Symphony of the Rockies doesn't necessarily have a home base per se. They go around, and they're going to be at Centennial Center Park August 23rd doing their Cinematic Symphony. Devin was just talking about that. We're going to be playing scores from iconic movies. Great for the family. The mixtape concert at the Lone Tree Arts Center is coming up on November 8th. 7:30 is the start time on all of these. Pace Center, October 11th, they're doing just what Devin was talking about. Mahler's Resurrection, music of the Lion King is going to be happening. December 20th, Newman Center, get ready for Christmas. It's their Let It Glow performance. November 13th, they're at Legacy Campus Theater. This is a morning performance, and it's the Creative Spirits. It's a children's discovery concert happening. And December 14th, 2 and 4 p.m. at the Newman Center, they're doing Holly Jolly, getting you into the spirit as well. Okay, so Devin Patrick Hughes, Symphony of the Rockies conductor. When did you decide to make that step and say, I'm putting down the instrument and I'm picking up the tiny stick without the triangle? How'd you make that transition?
Well, it happened pretty early. I mean, some conductors, they have full professional orchestra musician careers, and then they pick it up. But for me, I was like waving the arms around at the age of 3, and like you talked about my parents being disappointed. They were disappointed in a lot of things, but actually my dad had written in a book when I was a baby. I mean, I just found this out, because when you have a 3-year-old, you go back to all the things, and sometimes your parents tell you, oh, you did this, and so he wrote like, what do you want Devin to be? And he wrote conductor. So it's got, but I never considered doing that as a profession, I started essentially when I was like 20 or so. I was playing in the orchestra, and the nice thing about trombone and even trumpet and then triangle is it's not like the violins where you're probably playing 5,000 to 10,000 notes in a symphony. You're playing significantly less, so you're resting a lot. You have big bars of rest so I would check out the scores. Like I would really just observe and kind of absorb everything. I had a really great, inspiring teacher, conductor when I was in college, who had studied at Mannes Conservatory, who kind of had the lineage from all the great European masters. And so I just kind of soaked it up and did some study abroad things, and then just got as many degrees as I could until I got my first job, and just started and found Colorado because it's such an amazing place to live. And I met my wife here. She's a Colorado native. And started building these orchestras. I saw this gap of orchestras are very stuffy. Like orchestras, even orchestras that sometimes talk the talk, are not always as inclusive or inviting to young people. To people who like different styles. So I started the Symphony of the Rockies. We started the Symphony of the Rockies together out of the Arapahoe Philharmonic. as a vehicle, just to make the music as accessible as possible, make the ticket prices affordable, bring Beethoven, but also the great film music, also the great country music, also great Western music. We have a great Western show that we do with like The Good, Bad, the Ugly, and the Magnificent Seven, and the Lone Ranger, and all that stuff. So just basically sharing the symphony with as many people as possible, and recognizing Colorado as a place that loves the arts and loves music, but loves all these different styles of music that the orchestra can highlight.
See, you're singing my song. I grew up at the knee of my father, listening to the Boston Pops and Arthur Fiedler.
Yeah.
Arthur on vinyl.
Oh my gosh,
to Fiedler on
yeah.
vinyl, and he had a huge collection. So yeah, I remember spinning those. So got to talk to you. This is Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor of Symphony of the Rockies. We are highlighting their upcoming season, August 23rd, right around the corner here. It's going to be Centennial Center Park. You can check out the Cinematic Symphony, where they're doing stuff from movies. The mixtape concert is coming up at the Lone Tree Arts Center, November 8th. Start times are 7:30 on this. In October, it's Mahler's Resurrection and the music of the Lion King at the Pace Center, and they roll into December with a couple of performances that'll get you in the mood. Okay, Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor, Symphony of the Rockies. Who's your favorite composer? And remember, they're not listening, so it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe if they're still living, they could be. You never know what they're tuning on to. You have a popular show.
Thank you.
Well, I always go back to Beethoven, and I also kind of feel like it's every composer. I mean, that's the difference between maybe a composer and a conductor, is as a conductor, I have to love everything.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's not really about what I love as much as what the audience wants. And to some extent, what the orchestra members want to play.
Okay.
So, for example, like Beethoven had a lot of struggles in his life. The reason I think that we relate to these composers and why they're still household names, and they will be, I think, 500 years from now, and maybe even 1,000 years from now, is because Beethoven, was almost completely deaf.
Yeah.
By the time he was 35, 40, he had a lot of health problems. He had considered not going on many times, like with the Heiligenstadt Testament. He actually wrote that he was contemplating suicide. But he pressed on because he had this message. He had this belief system that he wanted to share with the world, that was, no matter what's happening to you, you can make your way through it. And you don't have to read his letters or learn about his life to know that. The music tells you that.
Yes.
Like, just listening to the music. And if it's not explicit to someone, by the Ninth Symphony, he puts a chorus in to tell you joy, spark of the gods, right? Like, he's giving us this message. And same with, like, for example, this concert we're doing on October 11th. Mahler 1860 to 1911, he loved Beethoven. Like, Beethoven kind of set the standard. And when you talk about the Resurrection Symphony, there are kind of overtones, ecclesiastical overtones, kind of Catholic, but also, overtones of Jesus. But also, Mahler was a Jewish composer who converted to Catholicism, and he's thinking of the Jesus story. Like, he's thinking of that parable, how it applies to everyone. Like, everyone is going to get hit, everyone is going to get knocked down. Nobody is going to get anything handed to you. So, but the symphony, the resurrection, the idea of going through struggle and coming out triumphant in whatever way that means to you, that is what these great symphonies are saying. So I think when somebody says, well, I haven't studied an instrument and I don't understand a symphony, I think everybody understands a symphony, and it's our goal, when you come to an orchestra concert, obviously I think you're going to be moved by the sounds and the inspiration, but deeply, within all of our souls, we want to share this idea. And that's passed down from all these great composers, is that you will get through it. Like, you are supported. You're going to make it. Keep pressing on. You're doing the right thing.
Oh, I love how you've encapsulated that, because I hear my two favorites are Mozart and Beethoven. It seems very pedantic, but those are them. And I was a kid, grew up with them. I feel Beethoven's music comes from time a portion of pain that finds the joy, where I see Mozart more times coming from a point of challenge and joy and finding the joy. He doesn't have the pain inside of some of his music that I feel Beethoven does deliver. Beethoven, there's this arc that Beethoven has, but Mozart, there's a different level, but there's a celebration and there's a joy found inside there. But I don't hear some of the emotional pain, sometimes the depth that I hear in Beethoven. I think Mozart comes at it from a different, but for Mozart there was an ease.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I like how you put it, and I think Mozart also, and there is this kind of, in some ways, misperception that Mozart had it easy because his wife also, people around him after he died did destroy a lot of his sketches. So there's a lot we don't know, but at the same time, we do know Mozart was a party animal.
Yes.
But he was also a workaholic.
He would never give up. Yes.
He worked all night. He probably that's why he died when he was 36. Like it wasn't. I mean, that was the kind of an average age to die in that time if you were living in a big city in Europe. But he worked so hard. He would sometimes write overtures the night before the premiere and just scribble it out and throw it to give it to the musicians. But also, we know that Beethoven was had a strong sense of morals and kind of family. I mean, not to say that Mozart also had a family, but we know that Mozart was kind of a philanderer. He had a great time. And Beethoven even looked at Così fan tutte, which is All Women Are Like That. That's one of Mozart's the greatest operas, which is about two couples that swap.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
and so Beethoven would not...
reality TV shows.
Yeah, it was the reality TV show of the 1790s. Beethoven would not perform that opera because it was immoral, right? So he had a different, I think, sense of what it meant to kind of do the right thing. But I like how you characterize that, because they are kind of the same lineage if you follow them, and Mozart and Beethoven, I could conduct both of those composers the rest of my life and nothing else and be perfectly content with my time on Earth.
Man, that is Devin Patrick Hughes. He is the conductor for Symphony of the Rockies. We are highlighting their upcoming season. We're going to talk more about it in a second. This is Jeff and Bill on News Talk 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Jeff not here today. Bill Thorpe flying solo, but I'm not alone. I have got Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor, Symphony of the Rockies, here in studio with me. We are talking about the upcoming August 23rd, Centennial Center Park Cinematic Symphony. 5:30 p.m. it starts, and then November 8th at Lone Tree Arts Center, 7:30 p.m. It's the mixtape concert. Okay, Devin Patrick Hughes, we only got a little less than a minute. How do you choose the musical selections for these upcoming concerts? How do you go through the process?
We try to look at our whole season and try to say, if you were a music lover, just a general, but you had a specific genre or composer or artist, like we try to say, how can we get something in there for you? We try to bring children's programming all the way to, Gone with the Wind, or going back to, we have the Mozart Requiem. Bill, you're talking about who your favorite composer is. Mozart. Mozart's Requiem is one of the greatest also historical musical enigmas, where we don't know, was Mozart writing this for his own Requiem? Was Mozart murdered? Like, was there a masked man that came and commissioned the Requiem? But most importantly, this is just kind of eternal music, and we're trying to provide everything from the uplifting to the entertaining to the educational, in the entire season, to make it possible for everyone to experience the symphony on their own terms.
Now, you can experience this by going to Symphony of the Rockies, symphonyrockies.org, symphonyrockies.org, symphonyrockies.org. That's Devin Patrick Hughes, conductor, Symphony of the Rockies. I'll be back tomorrow. This is Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, August 27th, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 1595 South Colorado Boulevard in Denver. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, August 27th at IHOP.